Welcome to this episode 1.1 about the legal system as the engineering of society and economics. This is about what the legal system brings to the table. Sometimes people tend to think that the legal system is simply there as a nuisance or a burden, and it's there for its own sake, more or less, just to provide bureaucracy. Actually, it's the opposite, because an effective and efficient legal system means that it's effective means that it does the right thing and does it quickly. That it's efficient means that it does it without much cost. So if both these requirements are met, we have a well-functioning legal system that leads to predictability. And what it is it that we can predict? Well, we can predict the outcome of our actions or omissions. So I can know that if I enter into this contract, if I take this job, whatever, then I will know what the outcome is. I can predict the outcome. And vice versa, if I don't do the contract or don't take the job, then I can also predict the outcome of that. Rather than I take the job and then I hope that I will get the payment of the salary, but maybe I'm cheated in the end. I don't get the money in the end. So predictability is very important to build trust. If we can predict the future, we can trust the future, then we are also willing to take action to provide benefits for ourselves into the future. So that leads to economic activity. If I trust that I will be rewarded when I do one thing and maybe I will be punished if I do another thing, that is an incentive to do the right thing, of course, but also it's an incentive in a wider scale to be active in an economic sense. So if I'm active if I enter into the contract and so on and so forth, I can trust in the outcome, because the legal system will support me in this outcome. A well-functioning legal system, that is, of course. If it's corrupt, it does the opposite. But when it's well-functioning and not too expensive and easy to access, then this is something which will instigate economic activity, because rather than the opposite, if the system, for instance, is very burdensome and untrustworthy, you can enter into a contract, but you don't know if the other party, if he doesn't pay what you agreed upon, then it has no consequences. You can't sue him, or you can, but it isn't effective, it takes too long, it's too expensive, or whatever. You can't trust the future. Then you are less willing to commit yourself into the future. So the more you commit yourself in economic endeavors into the future, the more economic activity will be generated in society, and the more economic activity you have in a society, the more wealth and prosperity it will enjoy. The same thing, it's different, but it leads to the same result, comes from this discussion about the transaction costs. Transaction costs are the costs incurred whenever a transaction is made. So whenever a contract is made, there are certain transaction costs attached. In the very least, you have to spend time negotiating and perhaps drafting the contract, and maybe later on to remedy mistakes in the contract or to change the contract and whatever, discuss the contract with your counterparty. Whenever you have a transaction, there is a certain cost incurred. Maybe also you have to call in for accountants or lawyers and consultants of various sorts in order to make sure that the contract is what it should be. So all of this is transaction costs. Maybe also to ensure that you get what you should in the end, you have to draw up, you have to give bank guarantees or take out insurance and the like. So all of this is transaction costs. And the more efficient and better functioning your legal system is, the less transactions cost will you have to pay. You might say an extreme opposite to the well-functioning legal system and society is a very corrupt society, where whenever you enter into a contract or do something in your company, you have to pay all around the table, and you have to pay a lot of stakeholders all around to pay corruption fees to them. This will be a burden on the economic activity, like a tax on all economic activity, which of course brings down the profitability of any economic endeavor. So if you can reduce the transaction costs by an effective economic system, this means that it takes less for any economic endeavor, for any contract, to be profitable. And of course, the less it takes for an economic endeavor to be profitable, the more likely it is that people will enter into these endeavors. And again, more economic activity, wealth and prosperity is generated. So much about the legal system.